and welcome to the table. I'm Rachel, and joining me today I've got our other Rachel,
hey.
Fiona and Shona. How are we doing, ladies?
Good.
Good.
Yep.
Good. Well, today we're going to be chatting to Harriet Connor. Now, she has written a book on parenting, but it's a little bit different. She's taking it from a big picture point of view and advice directly from the Bible. So I'm really interested to chat to her later. Gia will be in the kitchen making a mousse, and we'll be talking age discrimination. But first up, we've got our 3 quick topics, ladies. You ready to go?
No.
This is where I throw 3 quick topics at these ladies, and they give me their raw thoughts on the topic. So here we go. Ready? Okay.
Get ready for some bloopers.
Some bloopers coming up. I like it. Are there particular jobs or responsibilities around the house that are definitely designated to you or your husband, or is it 50-50, or how is that split, Rach?
Definitely designated, but we never had a conversation. It just evolved over time. And I just started assigning, like, that's yours, that's yours, that's yours, yeah.
So who's got the job of getting spiders?
That's definitely not my job.
Good to hear.
I'd be on a plane back to America.
Right.
No,
Fiona?
I think we're 50-50.
Yeah.
I do my fair share, he does his fair share. I like to believe. But I think I'm a bit of a control freak, so I try and jump in
Are you?
a little bit of everything. Yeah.
So if he does something, do you go and clean up behind?
And fix it up. Yeah, I do, unfortunately.
Oh.
I'm working on that. I'm working on that.
Me, there are specific top jobs that my husband has to do, like he has to clean the shower, he has to do the windows, and he has to do the oven. Gosh, there's not much left, is there? But he does those ones, and then I do the daily stuff.
What about the cooking?
Oh, we kind of split that, but my husband's a great cook, so he does a lot of the cooking, but I cook for Jax all day. So and yeah, we have different diets now, so we kind of are starting to cook for ourselves as well.
Interesting. All right, next one. So have you ever been pulled over by the police? So this could be our confession session. Police for speeding or any other sort of infringement?
Yes, on the way home from work, I was pulled over on the M7. I think I was just processing the shoot, and next thing you know, the blue lights behind. But he was generous, sort of. Well, he gave me a fine.
That's nice.
He gave me a fine, but it was, I think he felt sorry for me because I looked a wreck and I had all the kids in the back. He probably thought this lady's
You've got
moving
too many
out.
issues.
Yeah, I've got
You
too
tell the
many
kids
issues.
to start
He
crying
did.
in the car?
Well, they looked like they had a rough day. You know, the mum looked a total mess. So yeah.
Do we have to confess?
Yeah.
Failing to stop,
Failing to stop.
which is always my problem. Can't stop talking, can't stop eating.
Consistent across the board. I was booked once for not using my indicator. $160. Yeah. Wasn't real happy about that one. Moving on to the next one. Do you feel closer to your mum now that you are a mother?
Oh, most definitely. In fact, I think a lot about what she's done as a child, me growing up, and I think now I'm trying to, I feel like I'm morphing into my mum a little bit. Yeah, I'm definitely proud of where I came from.
Nice.
I feel like I'm more empathetic. I don't feel like I'm closer. We've always been very close, but I definitely go to her for more things and issues and ask her more questions. But yeah, I have a sense of how much she sacrificed now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I have such a great appreciation now. Like, I'm the same. We're pretty close, but my appreciation has just exploded. Yeah. So, Shona?
Distance-wise, no.
Yep.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Distance makes the heart grow fonder, they say.
Moving on.
So they say. Moving on. Well, they call it the Uber of babysitting. Would you leave your kids with a stranger? So we've now got companies like Gobi, and in New Zealand there's Citizen, where you can sort of look up an app, right, babysitter locally, I'll get a stranger into the house to look after my kids. Fiona, is this an answer to all your prayers?
No, N-O.
No.
No. The only person that has looked after my children other than my husband and I has been my parents.
Right.
And my siblings.
So you wouldn't use any sort of service, even an application where you can go, look, there's someone local, they can come round now and look after my kids. I've got to go out and do this. Or
Let's be honest, we live in a day and age where there is so many child exploitation rings. There's, you know, a lot of children being abused, and I'm just not going to be putting myself in a position where my kids will be
But these
abused.
kids, these people who are sitting get a rating, like people rate them. So it's like other programs where you can't, you know, you're not going to get someone who's got a low rating. You're going to go for the one who's got credentials there. It's not just
And some of the sites
stranger.
have, they have to have working with children, they have to have police checks.
But you can forge that. You can forge
Well,
that.
it's as
can.
safe as what you're going to have with a school teacher or a childcare worker, or they have to have the same...
Well, I think
with
that's
Fiona.
different.
Yeah,
I think that's
definitely.
different. They're established organisations. You would hope that there's been screening
There's some
done.
kind of
For
accountability
me,
there as
I
well.
think it's a great idea because I didn't have family around. So for me, I had to find babysitters and the 16-year-old who lived down the street who I barely knew anyway. At least this way.
It's a different day and age. This day, people have phones, they can do anything to your children, and next thing you know, it's gone live. So
And I think
I worry about that.
Especially
like
with them not being able to talk, like Jack's not being able to tell me what's happening. I think I have a huge issue with that. And I think I'm much more protective of my kid than I am sharing my car. Like a lot of the car sharing apps that they have. It's so different with your child. You never know what could happen, and they're trusting
you said, accountability. I think as parents, that's our responsibility. The children are our responsibility. So to just think that, oh, God's going to look after us, and it's negligent if you just hope for the best with someone.
No, but in the article,
work for me.
they said that the lady was screening, like she was interviewing them as well. So you'd have a gut feeling about whether they were good or bad or whatever.
But I think basically you're looking at an app. It's like Tinder. You're going through, you're looking at a photo, you're looking at the best side of themselves that they're putting forward, and who knows what they're going to be doing with your
You
kids.
see so many horror stories of children being abused at home from people.
Well, then who becomes accountable in this situation?
I think it's a legal grey area that they're saying. They're not exactly sure who's accountable. It's the app is saying
Because
we're not
this is
responsible.
just a forum, like, to sort of connect people.
They're saying the babysitter's responsible, but who wants to then go and press charges? You'd rather nothing happen to your child than to have to later press
But it's got to be a huge help, as you
Prevention.
said before, a huge help to people who don't have support but just desperately need to get something done with our kids or need that break,
Well, I know for us, if it doesn't work for our children at the moment because they're so young, then we don't roll. My kids aren't rolling, I'm not rolling.
I mean, I think being sympathetic to people who don't have an option, I think the great thing is to ask in mothers groups, ask other people who they use as a babysitter. There are other options for finding babysitters besides using an app with so much anonymity.
It's important to develop relationships with people that you're entrusting your children under their care. I think that.
Yeah, well, look, everyone's got their own journey and their own path to use. New Daily was saying that lots of people were using it and it's a growing market. So, I don't know, what do you think? Jump onto our social media and let us know on Facebook. You can also follow us on Instagram, and don't forget to check us out on YouTube as well. Well, we're going to move on to Mandy. She's making an all-purpose spray, so have a look at this.
Can get a little bit scary perusing the cleaning aisle of your supermarket and seeing the ingredients on the back of them, most of which I can't even pronounce. So I'm going to show you today how to make a really simple at-home all-purpose cleaner that is great for bathrooms, kitchens and everywhere in your home. All right, whatever size jar you have, remember to use glass when we're dealing with essential oils. We're just going to use half hot water and half white vinegar. That will help to deodorize. Make sure you do leave a little bit of room in the top for our last couple of ingredients here. Now the hot water is simply to dissolve the borax that we are putting in there. We're going to be using half a teaspoon of borax, which is a natural cleaner, great for removing stains, and also half a teaspoon of Castile soap. I'm using a eucalyptus flavour one, but you can just use normal dish soap. Okay, and to that I'm going to be adding about 20 drops of Thieves essential oil, which has amazing antibacterial and antiviral properties. If you don't have a similar essential oil, you can just add things like cloves, eucalyptus or tea tree oil. You want to make sure that your water is not boiling, that it has cooled down a little bit. If it is too hot, it's going to kill some of the great properties that this essential oil will have. All right, just going to put the lid on, give it a little bit of a shake up so everything is mixed in. And then we are done. You are good to go and start cleaning. I hope you enjoy trying this out. If you do give it a go, let us know on our Facebook page at The Table TV Show. We would love to hear from you. See you next time.
I like Mandy's stuff because you can use a whole heap of the stuff that she does for Christmas presents or, for like your teachers or your preschool teachers. This thing is really good.
Is that what you're giving us?
What, spray and wipe?
Am I supposed to get you a present?
Well, Mandy's been teaching you how to make so many things.
Righto. Next on the list. Okay, well, the Conversation has recently put an article together talking about older women and the discrimination that they're feeling in the workforce. And they did a report, they did a survey, 39% of older people were perceiving age discrimination in their workplace. Now, we've got an older generation that's continuing to grow and needing jobs but finding themselves out of work a little earlier than they'd anticipated. What do you think here when you read something like this?
I have so much sympathy because my mom's currently in this situation. She's looking for a new job, and technology just changes so quickly, you know? From the time we started even to now, it's just, you know, so rapid, and it would have changed so much from when she initially joined the workforce. But I think that the thing we're missing here is that the people of this generation, they have so much to add to the knowledge base, and I think by kind of excluding them from the workforce and thinking that people who are only good with certain bits of technology, we're totally missing something here.
I think what Rachel's saying is to go back to the organisations, to companies, for employers to look at the value that these mature age people offer in organisations, because too quick what I find happens is mature age people are so skilled, sometimes they're overqualified.
Yeah.
And it becomes harder for them to find another job if they do decide to move on.
Yeah, and sometimes they're able to find someone who can do the job that they're doing because they've had pay increases over the years. They can find someone else to do the job at
half the price.
Half the price.
But the thing is, we're missing this other soft set of skills that they have. Yeah, we're losing it, I think.
I actually watched this documentary on SBS. It was an Insight program, and they interviewed women, mature age women, who find themselves homeless because they've...
Wow.
Yeah.
Because
The super's low, the out of work.
Either they're divorced, so
Or
that
widowed.
income is gone, they're widowed, and they just can't survive. Like, I think by 2030, the age pension can only be accessed by people that are 67 years old. So there's a gap there of people retiring or not retiring. They're having to continue to work to live.
That's right, longer. But we're also living longer as well. Where, you know, people are fitter, they're healthier, and they're staying that way for a longer time. So they've got stuff to offer. They've got stuff to do.
I think as well, within this generation, there's this mindset of someone paying you to do a service. I think within a younger generation, we have a mindset of, I'm going to go out and find work for myself. I'm going to go on the internet and find something that I can do. And I think so many of these people, they have skills that would be marketable, that people would want if they would understand how to market
At a
themselves
young age,
online.
they've still got access to money, or their parents will support. When you're older, you don't necessarily have all those things.
Your children have moved on and has probably started their own family.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe some cases husbands have left their wives or the widowed. So women are actually really struggling. Another thing is not only elderly women, but I find with women who have decided to take the time off to have children, going back into the workforce, that's a bit of a struggle as well, and they might find some discrimination there as well.
Yeah, I found that a struggle, yeah. And to find a job, because I left school at 15, I don't have HSC, I don't have all those qualifications.
And then you take time off to look after the kids.
I've taken time off to look after the kids. You're left unskilled, uneducated, and, you know, like I've run businesses all my life. I have all these skills, but I don't have a piece of paper to say what I've got. So people just go, no, not hiring you.
Another thing is they're ill. You know, elderly people have illnesses and ailments that stop them from doing certain jobs for too long, like sitting too long, you know, and I think that also, they can't lift.
Yeah.
So.
I think, coming back to what you were saying, wouldn't it be great if, you know, like we were talking about the Tinder, wouldn't it be great if we could match up the elderly, older people, because it's not necessarily elderly, it's older people, sort of like 50 onwards, with younger generation people who could skill set them.
Start matching them.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a growing older generation, but we're having people with less kids, so we've got less younger people coming through. So it's probably something we all need to think about, and maybe some attitudes might need to change. But we're moving from our gender discrimination to gender secrets now. So people are using really creative and fun, playful ways to announce the gender of their baby, and almost keeping the gender a secret is becoming a lost art in a way. But what do you think? Is it something... Well, there was an article written, and a lady was saying she had 4 reasons for not wanting to share her secret, which she didn't. She really regretted sharing the secret of the gender because people would comment and she was sick of hearing from them and this and that. I thought she was sort of whining a bit myself. It's 4 months of listening to that. Move on. What do you think? Is it something really important to share or keep as a secret?
I mean, I think to each his own. Everybody has their own reasons. Some people think that because they're having a baby, it makes the surprise all that more, or it makes the whole experience so much more special by waiting to tell everyone. But for me, I just wanted to know because I wanted to plan and I wanted to pick a name, and I wouldn't have been able to keep a secret for that long. I don't know. I don't know how people do it.
Again, the control freak in me says no. There's no surprises. We ain't got time for that. Like, I want to know. I was surprised when we had kids and when we found out we were having twins. Wow. I was all surprised.
See, I would want to know.
All the way back to work.
That's
I
a
thought
lot.
my life was over. So no surprises for me. Let's know what the baby's sex is straight away.
Yes, I didn't find out, but my husband did.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't know and he did. And everyone's like, how did you do that?
Well,
no, he was smart because he dropped hints about both genders mousse for so long at the beginning that it confused me. So it doesn't matter what he said after that. I was, you know.
And you got baby brain anyway.
Did you do that with all your pregnancies? All your
Sorry?
pregnancies were left as a surprise?
All of them for me, because I love surprises.
wow.
Like I don't need to know. I loved being in the labour room and they're like, it's that, and I'm like, that's what I look forward
No,
to.
you're
That was my
right.
joy.
I actually go to a church with a midwife, and she was actually telling me that the experience of watching women who knew what sex they were having and women who didn't know, she said that women who didn't know, the elation that they have is like having a double hit of Skittles or something. It was just, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't find out. We just waited until they were there.
Nice.
I think the best advice someone told me, they said, no matter what you do, it's going to be a surprise. It's
That's
nothing
right.
that you imagine.
Because I've had friends who've been told you are having a girl, the room was pink,
Yeah.
it was a boy, had to change everything.
Wow.
Yes. So you're not always guaranteed, you know, you can always go and find out what you're having, but there are so many good wives' tales out there. Why wouldn't you go and find out what they are?
I think as long as everyone's healthy, you know, mum and bub's
Yeah.
healthy, I think that's the most
That's really important.
Absolutely, absolutely. But, you know, there are some people who have to know and some people who don't, and each to their own.
each to their own.
Righto, no worries. We're going to move into the kitchen with Gia, who knows what she's doing. She's going to cook us some chocolate mousse.
Oh, yum.
What are we making?
Chocolate mousse.
Chocolate mousse. We're making chocolate mousse. She's being silly. She's in a silly mood right now, actually, so I don't know how we're going to get through this one. Okay, so we're actually making chocolate mousse, but not using cream and eggs and all the stuff that makes you feel guilty when you finish. We're using aquafaba, which is, and if you haven't heard of it, chickpea juice. Just from chickpeas in a can, the juice used to cook the chickpeas, that's it. When I first heard about this, I thought, you are crazy, but you've got to see what this does. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so I've got 1 can of chickpea juice in here and I left it in the fridge. So please do this step by step the way I'm doing it, because if you don't, you'll end up with really gritty mousse. So I use a teaspoon of brown sugar. If you don't want sugar, that's fine. It just helps beat it really well. Do you want to help beat? You help me, go. Whoa. Okay. This is going to go really fluffy. Is that amazing? That is just 1 can of chickpea juice. And make sure you get one with no salt. This has to be really sharp peaks. So as you can see here, we've got really sharp peaks and it's like egg whites. Honestly, I've made this so many times to get it right. Okay, Olive wants some chocolate. I have made this so many times and it kept coming out gritty and I thought, what am I doing wrong? So I found something online that helped me, and this is the only way that you are going to get it to work, okay? So now I've got my melted chocolate. I use 100 grams. Dark chocolate has to be 70% and more, and no dairy. And I'm gonna add just some soy milk, 1/4 cup, just to mix it through. This will help it stop from getting gritty because we'll mix the milk through and it'll become creamy. And that way, when you put it in the fridge, it won't seize. Okay, can you see it? Come close.
Mom.
Okay, so you just mix it through, make sure it's all creamy and mixed through. So now you add 1/3 of the aquafaba inside and you mix it through.
Let me mix.
Oh, we don't mix it very hard. You've got to just fold it like this. Can you see that? Okay, another 1/3. Oh, this, seriously, it doesn't taste... Yes, you can. It doesn't taste any different to the chocolate mousse you get at the shops or at a restaurant. It is delicious and really tastes like the real thing. The last lot. There we have it. Our chocolate mousse made with chickpea juice, believe it or not. And now you can eat it without feeling guilty because you don't have all that cholesterol and all that sugar and cream. It's just dark chocolate. And if, like I said, if you want to make it sweeter, just add more sugar to your aquafaba when you're mixing it. Okay, here we go. Will we put them in here? Because you've got to let it set in the fridge for at least 6 hours, if not more. Ooh, there we we go.
Mama, can I?
So you just put them in a jar like that. Oh, Olive already put a finger in the one that I've already made. This is what it's going to look like when you take it out. If it comes off the edges a little bit, that's what you want, because that's how you know it's not going to be gritty and it's set really well. And I just use a little bit of chocolate with Olive's little fingerprint in it. Why not? There you have it. And I'm going to grab a little spoon, or a big spoon, and show you the consistency.
No, I don't need mine.
No, you can have it. Do you want it? Oh, you're going to be sugared up.
Thing.
Okay,
I want the whole thing.
there you go. And Mummy will have some too. Turned out good.
Looks all right. Would you try that, Rach?
Yum.
I don't like chocolate, but everything else looked great. But I love the segment. It was great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you're interested in more vegetarian options or healthy eating, you're welcome to get a free copy of Sanitarium's More Nature's Superfoods. You can call them in Australia on 1300 300 389 or in New Zealand on 0800 694 673. Well, I'd like to introduce you to our next guest, Harriet Connor. Harriet, thank you so much for joining us. You're a mum, you're an author, and you've written a book. Your book's called Big Picture Parents. Now, there's a whole heap of books out there on parenting. So what makes yours different?
I basically wrote the book that I needed to read. There are too many books about parenting, but I find they're all about tiny details, and you read one and it leaves you feeling guilty that if you don't implement their particular strategy or their techniques, then you're going to sort of break your child somehow or damage them. So the book was a personal project. I was desperate for guidance. I found looking on the internet didn't help at all. It just confused me more because there's so much out there. You just can't keep up with the 17 habits of highly happy families and the 12 mistakes new parents make. You just can't keep up with it all. So I had enough of the internet, and I wanted some unchanging, timeless wisdom for parenting. And I thought, well, I'm going to go back to the Bible that my ancestors read, and I'm going to look for some unchanging wisdom for parenting.
And what did you find there?
I went...
Help me out here.
Yeah. I went looking for little pieces of advice, but what I realised is that we need to step back from all the shoulds and shouldn'ts and lay a foundation. Think about the big picture. And so I've got 4 major sections to my book, 4 major ideas. The first is about our big purpose, trying to step back and realise that we're made for more than just seeking happiness. I think our modern world wants to tell us that the purpose of life is to be happy. Follow your heart, make yourself happy. And so when we become parents, we think, well, maybe this is about making my kids happy. Maybe that's the main thing here. But when I went to the Bible, I realised that we're made for much, much more than happiness. And our big purpose doesn't depend on how we're feeling. We are made to honour our Maker, to honour God, and to love the people around us. And interestingly, research into happiness is beginning to show that just chasing good feelings and running away from bad ones actually doesn't lead to long-term happiness. If you're a slave to your emotions, you actually don't find lasting happiness. But research is showing that the secret to happiness is connection. It's being connected to the people around you, but it's also having a sense of your place in the bigger picture, being connected to a bigger purpose. And that's what I found when I went to the Bible, that actually if we focus less on our children's emotions and more on showing them, teaching them and helping them to live out their big purpose.
Is that the big purpose?
Yeah, well, in the Bible we see that humanity was made for connection. We're made for relationship to God, our Maker, to His creation and to other people. And so, our purpose is to do those things well in the way that He intended. We're created to honour God and to live well in His creation and to love the people around us. And that is what I talk about as our big purpose for us and for our children. Our children share that big purpose. Even when they're tiny, even when they're still in the womb, they're made by God for a big purpose, much more than happiness.
Hey, Harriet, I was wondering, you were saying that you went back to look at the Bible to see, to glean some wisdom. Is there any unexpected place where you found wisdom, an unexpected story that maybe we can take a second glance at?
So many. I've read the Bible many times, but when I went back to the Bible as a parent, I was surprised at every turn. I mean, there's a story of when an angel appears to a couple, this is in the Old Testament, and tells them that they're going to have a son who will be a leader. It was going to be Samson. And after the angel leaves, they look at each other and say, or they pray actually, God, can you tell the angel to come back again to tell us how to raise this child? I think, oh, right, okay, I feel like that. Yeah. Can you just give me a bit more help here? So, yeah, often I found I was just surprised by, I didn't realise the heartache of so many women and people in the Bible when things didn't work out, that they couldn't have children, or there's even a woman, Rachel, in the Bible dies in childbirth, and I just hadn't noticed that before, but as a mother you read that and your heart just goes out to that situation. So I guess the reality of life as a parent in this real, imperfect world really hit home.
So you started taking a second look at the stories from the perspective of a parent.
Yeah, exactly.
What about that part in the Bible where it says, spare the rod?
Well, yes, this is a very controversial aspect of parenting. And I think when people think of the Bible's view of parenting, they do go straight for Proverbs and think about verses like that. But when it comes to discipline is so much more than whether or not you use physical discipline or smacking or spanking with your children. Discipline is all the things we do to help train our little apprentices in our values and in our character. So it's your modelling, it's your teaching, it's training, it's encouraging, it's correcting with your words, it's letting them experience natural consequences for their actions. And then you may have to use negative consequences, and that in my opinion, that's up to each family to decide whether they want to take that kind of verse in a very literal sense of physical punishment, or whether they use other kinds of consequences.
Harriet, there's just looking at the book, it's a really interesting cover. Is there a reason behind all the houses?
Yeah, well, there's a few reasons behind. It's supposed to look like a partially completed adult colouring in page.
And where can people get this book?
People can get the book at the Christian bookshop Coorong, or my distributor distributes to Australia and New Zealand. That's called Morning Star Publishing. If you Google Harriet Connor, Big Picture Parents, all the different options will come up.
It's also been nominated or shortlisted as Australian Christian Book of the Year. So well done on that. Look, I hope you have great success with it. I know it sounds like something I need to read. So thank you so much for joining us here at the table today. We really appreciate your time and your wisdom.
Thanks for having me.
And don't forget, you can check out any of the segments today online on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and especially YouTube, where you can catch up on all Gia's cooking or anything Mandy makes. We will see you next time. Bye for now.